But this week, he's off the set and he's here in Washington to fight for a cause close to his heart. Eric's here with us. Thanks so much for coming in, and congratulations on a successful fourth season of the show. I don't want to give things away in case people still have it stocked away in the DVR. I know it ends on a pretty big cliffhanger. Going into the next season of the show, how much time do you have off before you get back to that? I know the fans are going to want more quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll start filming again in mid-July. We finished filming the season back in April, and then it'll start to air again in the fall. We get back to work pretty quickly. We're all anxious to know it. I mean, none of the actors know, maybe Taya does, but none of the other actors really know what's going to happen next season. So I'm just as anxious to know as much as the viewers are.
You know, there's some terrific writing that goes into the show as well, and you really have to carry a political drama of this kind of weight. I wonder, just from your experience and seeing how all that plays out, you know, the writers have to create this utopian universe where, you know, where the characters are truly the best of who they can be in their roles. So I wonder, as you look at that, what sort of characteristics do they kind of write to define the actors in their roles as diplomats?
Well, I think the thing about Madam Secretary is that we're trying to show human decency in a world that often gets, at least in real life, whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, it can get very nasty, and it can get, I think we all tend to lose sight of why we're so interested in American politics, which is we're all after the same thing. We all have the same American values, mostly. And I think, well, you know firsthand watching the news how kind of bizarre it has gotten. I think what Madam Secretary shows is what you said. You're showing the best of people.
Kind of a benevolence.
Absolutely. That there's a human side to all of these people who work in government, and that we are really trying to go after the same thing. So I think our show really highlights human decency, and most importantly, that we really can get to and achieve the goals that we all have.
Now, highlighting you as a professional, acting is something that came second for you. You're first and foremost an artist, a musician, a singer, a songwriter, and you've been doing this since a very young age.
I was lucky enough to have great music education and arts programs in New York City public schools, which is where I grew up. I started playing the violin at age 4, and it really changed my life. I mean, I was about as weird can be in a child. I mean, I was really an outcast, especially being an only child. And music really helped me figure out what I wanted to do in life. It made me figure out who I am and what I love. And it led to a career in the arts. But what I'm here in DC for this week is trying to prove to Congress and the world how much arts education and music education is important, not just to those who actually go into a career in the arts, but the tests show that early education in music and the arts lead to better in math and science, and even later on down the line, it leads to, there's been research to show how it fights against Alzheimer's. I mean, it's crazy what arts education really does from an early age.
So how do you do that? What does that look like? How do you get into passionately advocating about that? Because especially right now, I mean, I would say that one of the sad commentaries in America right now is the only national conversation that we're having about education is conversations about, should we arm teachers? What about mental health? How to make our schools safe? We're not talking about educating our children in the ways that you're talking about.
What about if we arm teachers with another great way to educate children? That seems to me a better idea than arming teachers with guns. Another way to educate kids in ways that we haven't thought of before. I did not understand basic math until I sat at a piano. And I know that seems like, okay, maybe that's a 1 in a million thing. It's not. There are many, many kids who were similar to me. And a lot of private schools have great arts education. It's the public schools, kids who
need it the most.
Who need it the most. And we are here this week with the National Alliance of Music Merchants and VH1 Save the Music to go to Congress to thank them for the funding that they've provided so far, because they have done some great work. But to answer your question, it takes money. And we're asking for the rest of that money to fund the Every Student Succeeds Act, which is really important. It's kind of the update to the No Child Left Behind Act. But for the first time, music education is actually listed on its own as a real form of education. And this is a really big opportunity to make sure that arts funding does not fall by the wayside.
And
it's
to your
extremely
point,
important.
a great way of connecting with students. You performed recently at Parkdale. Parkland,
yes,
rather, in
yes.
Florida for the Day of Hope and Healing, and I imagine that spurred a lot of conversations.
It was, listen, those kids are incredible. Whether you agree with them or not, the fact that they are going out there to do what they do is incredible. And I saw how much music heals. And a lot of those kids are theater students. A lot of them are music students. I mean, these are kids who know how to fight for what they believe in because they know how to communicate with each other thanks to the arts education that they have.
Well, Erich Bergen, an incredible performer. You're actually going to be able to see him if you get the chance, not only tonight here on the show, but tomorrow at the National Press Club, where you'll be talking a little bit about the show, Madam Secretary, and you'll be performing, singing and playing the piano as well.
I will be.
That's tremendous. It's great to have you here, Erich. Thanks so much.
Remy.
Thanks for visiting D.C.
Thanks.
All right, we're coming right back with more.